All right, we are live. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, April 4th. My episode 150, which I can't believe, of the TED Show. And look who I'm sitting with today. I'm sitting with Mayor Buddy Dyer. Welcome, Mayor Dyer, to the show.
Thank you, Ted.
Oh my God,
I'm honored to be.
You're honored. I am
your
so
150th
honored. I know. Guest. I can't believe it, and I'm so honored and humbled. You know, I had the idea of having you on at some point, or asking you to be on, I guess. And I thought, well, it's 150. You can't say no if I don't ask the question, right? So, and you said yes, so thank you guys. Thanks. And we have a little audience in the background, guys, and you see people are coming on right now and watching.
I thought you had gone like, okay, don't have anything left to do. 150th show.
Not at all what
happened.
happened.
Maybe I'll stick the mayor in.
I thought, well, maybe because I'm on the Mayor's Academy, I might have a shot this time, which, by the way, is an amazing organization. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I think it would be, and people are already saying, hey, Mayor Dyer, hey, Buddy. But I think it would be great to start with you, a little background on you, because you're homegrown, and kind of give us your background a little bit. And it's not the, you know, I'm born and then I was mayor story. People like to kind of know a little bit of the background. And you would think that people would, since you've been mayor, longest mayor, correct? In our history, city history, but they don't always.
Well, you know, it's funny. I heard somebody use this line the other day. It turns out I haven't gone very far. And that's true. I was born about a half mile from City Hall. For those of you who remember Orange Memorial Hospital, which is now Orlando Health. I was born in Orange Memorial Hospital, but I was born there because Kissimmee didn't have a hospital at the time, and we lived in Kissimmee, so I grew up in Kissimmee and graduated from Osceola High School, Cowboys with a K, go Cowboys, and went to Brown University, got an engineering degree, worked as an engineer for 4 years, and then went to the University of Florida for my law degree. And when I graduated from Florida, I came back to Orlando and worked as a lawyer. And in '92, when I was 33, I was elected to the state senate and served there for 10 years, was the Democratic leader for a number of years. I termed out, ran for Attorney General unsuccessfully, was headed to D.C. to do some work with Bob Graham, and Glenda Hood was appointed Secretary of State, and there was an open seat. There were 7 people already running for that because she had announced she wasn't going to run for re-election. And a lot of people thought I'd make a good mayor, and I'd never really thought about ever running for mayor. And one morning about 6:30, Pastor Sam Green, who is the pastor at St. Mark AME, called me and said, "We've just finished our prayer service, and we prayed about you running for mayor, and we think that you should do that." And that was kind of the straw.
That was it? That was the final catalyst to get you going.
And it was a 3-week campaign, and then I got in a runoff, and I've been mayor since 2003.
I can't believe it. It's amazing. And how did you get from attorney, because there's a lot of attorneys that never run for office, so was there always a passion to do civil service, to run for office, to be in office?
You know, I grew up not in a wealthy situation, and when I went to Brown, it was probably 2 of the years I was there, it was the most expensive school in the country, but I was able to get so much financial aid through grants and scholarship that I've always felt you have an obligation to give back in whatever way it is you feel appropriate. So public service has been one of the ways that I think is appropriate for me to give back.
So Orlando has changed a lot since 2003. We are, and I want to make sure I get all the words right, we're embracive, yes? I almost said abrasive earlier. We're not abrasive people, I promise. We are inclusive, maybe that's the word, and certainly diverse. But I'd love for you to talk about that, because I think Orlando, even in my lifetime, I've been here since I was 11, I have seen such a tremendous amount of growth even in the last 10 plus years. It's amazing what's going on in the city. And I definitely felt even in the last couple of years, we have become more inclusive, certainly more diverse. So how did that become part of your mayoral world? How did that change? How did Orlando change, or how did you help make that change, you and your team?
You know, I think I've been part of it. I don't want to claim credit for all of it, but Orlando has grown in so many ways. We lead the country in job growth and overall growth, but I think in terms of growth of embracing diversity and inclusion, we may be the leader in the country in that regard. There are certainly some places like San Francisco that were ahead of us a little bit, but we have such a great diversity of people here in Central Florida. The vast majority of the people that live here in Orlando weren't born here in Orlando.
Right.
I'm one of the
my wife too.
few,
She was
right?
born here.
So the fact that we have this melding of different types of cultures and populations, and that people appreciate that. It's not like, oh, we don't want those type of people here. It's like the people here in Orlando recognize that diversity is a strength, that having people that have different points of view, that come from different cultures, add to what we have here in Orlando. So I think it's an attitude here now.
I agree. You can feel it. It's palpable. I feel like people have really become very collaborative in everything that we're doing, and I think that starts with our local government. You all have done an amazing job of really getting out there, getting the community involved, and really reaching out. I mean, some of the things that I'm learning as part of the Mayor's Academy, see Rebecca, there's the shout out, for 2018, there's so many things in here that I didn't even know existed. So what a wonderful thing to be able to get out in the community and showcase some of those amazing things that are going on.
Well, if you think about all the great successes we've had, whether it's related to the University of Central Florida and its medical school, the medical city, Creative Village now in the downtown campus, Sunrail, the community venues, the downtown revitalization, all of those have come about because of this culture of collaboration that we have. And I think it really began with the medical school and how the community came together behind Dr. Hitt's vision of having a medical school. And we learned from that, and we've put that to work in everything we do. So now even an social issue like the issue of homelessness, we do that in a collaborative manner, and we bring the business community, the academic community, the philanthropic community together with local government stakeholders. So it's an approach that we've learned to do, and we've learned that we're better together in terms of anything that we do. And then on the other side, in terms of the embracing of diversity, Pulse, the response of this community was unbelievable in a positive way. But if we weren't already that community, some people think we became that community because of Pulse.
I think a lot of people feel that way. The world sort of sees us.
But like that's not the case. All they did was they saw our community for the first time.
They did. And so, but you're right. If we didn't have the seeds already planted, we weren't already working collaboratively together on projects, and the spirit of that wasn't here, Pulse we would have come together. I feel like we would have. But I definitely feel like that put us on a world stage. And actually, I feel like since then, it's been exponentially. So all the work that you did and your team and the city's done and all the projects have done up till Pulse, really exponentially, now things have really moved forward. I feel like everything that we do, every meeting I go to that involves anything, the city projects or any of the projects going around here, there's just this spirit of collaboration. I'm sure there's arguments, I'm sure there's discussions that I'm not privy to, but it feels that way, and so that creates this environment where people feel safe talking about things, bringing up new ideas, brainstorming, and I think that has really come super full circle since Pulse.
And I think that in the last 10 years there has become a great pride in being from Orlando, and I think since Pulse specifically, there are a lot of people that when you would ask them, where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey.
They would say that, but now people say I'm from Orlando.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, because like even when I went to UCF, and people, I did not go when it was FTU. I promise it was UCF, and I used to think, God, I just went. That was basically not my first choice school, and that's how a lot of us is. You can't finish used to be the way people thought about it. But there's a pride. We've come together. And so when I say I'm graduated from UCF and it's somebody from out of town, they're like, wow, you went to UCF? You got a degree from UCF? We have a lot of go nights going on, by the way. And guys, I promise I'll get to your comments. We might not get to it during the show, and I promise you we'll get to it at some point. But yeah, I feel like all of the things that are going on are just continuing to build on the fact that people love to be here. Now, is that also helping attract businesses? Because I read something about us being top or in the top for women in technology, for example.
I think the greatest attractor for business is our talent pool, and UCF is a huge contributor to that, obviously. But if you think about having the University of Florida a couple hours away, University of South Florida a couple hours away, within a 90-minute drive of downtown Orlando, you have over 500,000 students. So you're rivaling somewhere like Boston. You think of all these universities, but we're such a new community. You know, we're not 250 years old. We're really, since the 60s is when the major growth in our community has been. So we don't have 10 schools that are serving us. University of Central Florida has 65,000 students now. So in other areas that might be accounted for 3 or 4 different schools that grew up at different points. Or, you know, University of Florida has over 50,000 students. So we're a little bit different in how we're creating that talent pool. But the other thing about the talent pool is that people want to stay here now, and there are jobs for them to stay for. They don't have to go to Atlanta to be in just about any occupation that they want to be in. And my son graduated from American, and he came back here, and he was introducing me the last time I ran for re-election, and he said, when I left to go to school, I had no interest in coming back to Orlando, and now I'm so happy that I came back. There's no place that I'd rather be. And my friends that chose not to come back are trying to figure out how to get back here now. So having the young, smart people that can make a business successful is our whole economic development strategy, and having pieces like the Amway Center, the Performing Arts Center, Major League Soccer are part of creating the quality of life that are going to attract those kids or retain those kids.
Right. The retention is so critical. Like my kids went away. They both graduated from TCU, my oldest two. They stayed there. Their friends think they're crazy for staying. They don't understand why they're not coming back to Orlando. And I think that even my kids growing up had this jaded view of, well, there aren't that many jobs. It isn't the same. But it really is. So a lot of people out there, and they're in Texas, are thinking this worldview of how Orlando is the place to come to. There are jobs. There are opportunities here. Because I think in the past, everybody thought of Orlando as Disney. That was the primary thing. Everybody said if you aren't working in Disney, there's really not a lot you're going to find here. But we've really brought a lot of technology companies, big companies, into our economy here based on all of the efforts that you guys have done.
Well, we have an unbelievable name brand. There's nowhere in the world you can go that they don't know Orlando.
That's true.
They may not even know Florida, but they know Orlando. But the second thought behind Orlando is Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, tourism corridor. So we have that great benefit of being world renowned for our tourism, but the other side of Orlando gets left out of that equation sometimes. So I had a group of mayors in for a conference on Monday and Tuesday of this week, and most of them had not been in downtown, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is Orlando? We had no idea. And they were all out walking around downtown and saying, oh, I wish my downtown was this clean, or, you know.
I think people do. You either have that old version of Church Street was downtown. That used to be what downtown represented. And then we went through growing pains and changes, and there weren't a lot of people that understood how amazing downtown has become. And as they continue to visit because of soccer, or because of UCF Valencia, and because of everything that's going on downtown, you see that the economies are growing up. Like you all have done, and when I say you all, I mean your office, the city, has done a fantastic job helping to stimulate the growth of business owners who come downtown. Well,
and it was very calculated that the Amway Center and the Major League Soccer Stadium be on that Church Street corridor, because we've created, I can't think, quite honestly, of a better sports and entertainment corridor that we're growing between Camping World Stadium and the Performing Arts Center, with the other two venues in between anywhere in the country. And if you think about our downtown now, there's not a weekend that it's not vibrant and just, exciting to be downtown, especially when you've got both basketball and soccer going. We had WrestleMania here last year. We had a bid for the World Cup.
It's amazing what we have down here, because, again, back in the day, people would think of Orlando, let's just talk about the bar restaurant scene, for example. It was all chains, and there's nothing wrong with chains, but we've really encouraged mom and pop businesses to open, and then we've encouraged people to go out and support them, local business. I think the city's done an amazing job at really promoting the local business drive.
No doubt. And the other thing about Orlando, we have these commercial Main Street districts, so Edgewater Drive, Audubon Park, we have 9 of those, And those nationally are generally one street, say in Kissimmee, you know,
Yes.
a Main Street or a Popka. So we have really been able to leverage the neighborhood commercial districts to make them special places as well. I live in College Park. I can do everything I need to do on Edgewater Drive,
Absolutely.
and I can walk there, and there's a dozen restaurants that I like. There's grocery stores. There's pretty much everything that I need. There's 2 wine bars.
There are two. I might know all about those. And think about it. So when I grew up, we didn't have a SoDo or a milk district. And I love the fact that we have gone in and we've named those and really built a character around them, a story around them, and business around them, and gotten the community involved, their communities involved.
The milk district is such a good example of that, because it was a hodgepodge of several businesses, but kind of spread out, and nothing was cohesive about it. But now they've created a Main Street district. They've got a neighborhood association. They're excited about it. They just had this Rockin' on Robinson event
Right.
that had thousands of people that came to that. And there's a true identity there with the milk district that I think multiplies what they have going individually with just the restaurants or the bars or whatever they have.
I agree. And I love that a lot of the people don't even know what the milk district stands for. So I encourage you to Google that. 'Cause I don't know. I think it's really, really cool, because growing up here, we saw the cow at the top of the T.G. Lee building. And so I think a lot of people are like, what is the milk district? But you just go with it. If that's what you move into, or that's what you're taught, then you don't necessarily question, okay, this is the milk district, or this is SoDo, south of downtown, by the way, I believe. So I'm looking around so I don't mess anything up.
You've got it all right
So far, I did a lot of research. I
Tell everybody about the Mayor City Academy, because I think that's a great thing.
It's so amazing. So one of the things I did want to talk about was the Mayor City Academy. That is there's 40 of us, maybe 50 of us, that every Thursday we go out together and we visit things that are affiliated with the city, different organizations, different buildings. Like we went to Primrose, which I didn't even know living here even existed. We went to the smelly plant, the wastewater treatment plant. But it was fascinating.
And learned how sludge was made.
I learned how sludge was made, and then I went and ate a very nice dinner. It was actually awesome and very educational. And the people are so engaged. Your staff are engaged, which makes us feel awesome, and we really want to get more engaged. And then as we're getting the tours and the people are educating us on where we're at, what the function is, what the role is of this, how it plays into the city's plans, you get excited about all of the stuff that our city has to offer. And me feeling like I was engaged, I thought, this would be awesome for me, but I'm probably going to know everywhere we go. It'll just give me a little insight. It gives you so much more than that. It gives you a real feel for all of the amazing things that we're doing as a city that you might not know. And that's one of the things that I encourage people. I want you to go to thecityoforlando.net and look up all of the things. And if you don't find something you're interested in, I know that there are places you can call to find out information, and we'll share all of that information at the end of the video when I post it. But there's so much going on in the city, and I think sometimes people go, well, how do I get involved? What would be the first step? Well, Mayor's Academy for me was awesome. It's only once a year, I believe, right? But there are so many other things. The love and the passion that we get to see every week from the Mayor's Academy, that's going on in all departments in the city. You can't make it up. I'm not just saying that because Mayor Dyer is next to me. You can feel it when you walk in the building. You can hear it when people are talking about the projects that are going around the city. And I think that also helps drive the energy and the excitement and the collaboration that the city feels, because you all build this wonderful environment and you feel good about doing good with the city.
Well, there's no question that city staff take great pride in what they do. And what I'd say about this Mayor's Citizen Academy, chambers of commerce generally have leadership Orlando or leadership of Popka, leadership Kissimmee. So it's basically that style of class, but for city government and behind the scenes. So you go learn what we do with the water that you flush down the toilet.
That was fascinating and scary at the same time. So you definitely want to check that out.
Or I think you'll go to OPD headquarters,
Yes.
You'll go to Fire Station 1. So basically you get to visit every single department, City of Orlando, and learn what they do.
And there were so many things, even on the first night when we were going through and everybody was kind of giving us a presentation. I was fascinated mainly because so much stuff goes on I didn't know about. And I felt like, oh God, I'm kind of on the in. I served on the flag committee, which we want to talk about a little bit. I go to a lot of events. I try to support the city every chance I get because I do love Orlando. But it was so awesome to see how the departments function too. And this is just a giant wheelhouse. And how you all keep all of it going and still continue to energize the city is just, it's such a huge blessing to all of us who are residents here. I absolutely love it. All right, so I want to also talk about sustainability and biking and all the amazing things that we get to do because we are a city of sustainability. I had Chris Castro on the show. He's amazing. He actually just took a deep breath and talked about sustainability for 30 minutes. It was awesome.
I believe that.
I just had to nod in the right places, and he could have talked for longer. Again, things I didn't know about. I didn't know about the composter. I didn't know about the Plant a Tree program. And it's not for not wanting to participate in it. It's just that's something I never even thought of that we offer.
So 10 years ago, we made a real commitment to be the most sustainable city in the Southeast United States. And I would say that we are one of two. It's either us or Atlanta that can claim that title depending on whose criteria we're using right now. So we're not quite Seattle or Portland yet, but we're on the way. So we created a stakeholder task force to create a plan, a roadmap to get there. And we have a number of different elements. And when Chris tells it, he can say, and I'll just say, oh yeah, what Chris said. But there are so many different components to it. But we wanted to make sure that the city government led by example. So everything that we have done has become sustainable from our buildings. We're renovating City Hall right now, retrofitting all the HVAC to make it a more energy efficient building. We energy audited every building that we had, and we did a bond, and the capital that we used for that, half of it was for the capital improvements in the building, and half of it we paid for half the police station out of the energy savings that we're realizing from that.
That's amazing.
Every building that we've constructed in the last 10 years has been at least Silver LEED certified, and that includes all of our fire stations, or OPD headquarters, Performing Arts Center, Amway Center, and then ancillary buildings. We've gone heavily into solar. We just purchased a high percentage of OUC's newest community solar farm, so that we can now power City Hall and all of our fire stations on the energy that we're purchasing from the OUC solar farm. But it's simple things too, like recycling. So we went from the little small bins to the bigger single stream recycling bins, and we've increased substantially the amount of recycling. But we also have commercial recycling in Orlando now. And you mentioned probably my favorite, which is backyard composting.
Right.
So nothing makes you feel better than being able to compost your old leftovers that you're going to throw away or down the garbage disposal.
It's fascinating. So you actually will bring the machine or the composter to the house, and then you're basically, instead of throwing everything into the garbage, the things that belong in a composter go into the composter, and then that helps create basically a fertilizer, a better yard, better plants, better for the environment, instead of throwing it in a garbage bag and sending it somewhere to a landfill.
And you made it sounded complicated, but it's not. It's just a big plastic bin that you close the top on, and you just need to stir it and water it every once in a while. And what I do, I stop by Palmer's Feed Store on the way home every once in a while and get a can of worms and throw the worms in there, and that helps with the compost.
Smart stuff, but who would know that? It's kind of like the cooking grease one too, if we're talking about sustainability. So I'm not really cook. I mean, microwave's my thing, but my wife cooks. So if there's oil, it can cause so much damage to the drains, which I learned at the wastewater recycling plant. And so there's a whole program to dump that in and drop it off at one of the facilities in Orlando. I mean, the fact that you can do that, it's so little effort, and you all have created it in a way where it is so little effort for you all to get involved. It's such an awesome thing that our city would even think like that. And the trees, so they don't know about the Plant the Tree.
So we have a One Person, One Tree initiative, and you can go on our website and we'll send you a tree in the mail.
I mean, did you hear that? Isn't that awesome? What other city does that, or what other city wants to get you that involved in leaving less of a footprint on our world, a bad footprint, and you get to have a tree in your yard, and you get to have the composter in your backyard, and that's all done by city efforts and your team's efforts to get us more involved and get us to be more sustainable. So what about the bikes really fast? Because I know that there's a lot of people that utilize we're trying to get people, because if you use bikes, if you become less dependent on cars, for example, then it helps all of us. It helps the environment. But you all are really determined and committed to making a difference there.
So several years ago, we adopted a complete streets policy, and that's phone solicitation.
Phone solicitation.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When we do any redevelopment of any of our streets, we consider pedestrian and bicycle traffic just as much as we consider automobile traffic. And we have installed miles and miles and miles of bike lanes and bike paths. We have started painting them. You've probably noticed some of them that are green. They just stand out a little bit better and make a bicyclist feel better about that. But we're promoting pedestrian activity, bike activity for a number of reasons, health reasons, but also giving people alternative means of transportation, Sunrail being another aspect of that. Certainly the limo that we've expanded, so we now have 3 separate routes for limo in and around the downtown area. So these millennials that we were talking about before, some of them don't want to own 2 or 3 cars.
Correct.
They might not even want to own a car at all.
Well, from a cost perspective, it can, I've been using Lyft a lot. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Car payment, insurance, gas, and all of that versus utilizing our local transportation or biking or using another form of something. And having the cars, millennials are not so interested in that. They like to bike.
And we have the juice bikes that are available in and around downtown, so you can sign up very cheaply there and just grab one of the orange bikes. And there's actually a buddy bike that's out there somewhere.
There's a buddy bike? I did not know.
I don't know where it is today, but you can find that one. It's like hunting Easter eggs.
Well, I'm cognizant of your time, so I want to, and we'll answer all of your questions. I'll go back in, and then I'll work with the mayor's office to see the video, and we'll answer your questions. There's a ton of feedback and comments and questions.
So since we have a backdrop there, let me just tell you what that is.
Please.
After Pulse, the Orlando Contemporary Quilting Guild reached out to its membership all over the country, and they wanted to create, I think, start out with 49 quilts, and the membership responded unbelievably, and they ended up creating about 2,000, maybe more than that, quilts, and they gave them to everybody that was involved in any way with Pulse or the response to Pulse. And that particular one they gave to me because it has a city skyline involved with the 49.
It's beautiful. All right, any parting words of wisdom for them? Anything you want to leave them with? I think you've given them an amazing amount of information. That's why you see all the hearts going up and down. People are loving what
Well,
you're
how
saying.
about this? We have a little rivalry with Portland coming up, and Orlando City plays the Timbers on Sunday, so go City, go Lions.
Go City. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Appreciate
My
all
pleasure.
you do. Your team, the staff, everybody is just awesome, so supportive. And that's what you get. It's not just because of me. This is real. This is all how everyone is when you're working with any kind of project with the city. So get involved, cityoforlando.net, and I'll post that after the show. Love you guys. Thank you for joining. You have so many questions. I promise you we'll get to them. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, guys.